I think, do you want to start with this?
I can, yeah, I can start. The partner market is buoyant. There's a lot of movement in the market at the moment. Many firms are looking at strategic hires, looking at their plans for 2025. Obviously, with a lot of changes going on across the world, there's been different levels of recruitment across 2024. I think there's quite a lot of backdated recruitment happening at the moment. The market's picking up in various areas, so we're seeing a lot of growth across many of the transactional corporate areas, commercial areas, real estate. There's a lot of appetite. And your usual areas as well, like the disputes areas and residential property, they're ticking along quite nicely too.
Yeah, I think it's what I'm finding at the moment in London is it's very, very, very busy in terms of senior hires. I think that I'm finding, and I think we're both finding, that there's a lot more going on at partner level. And sometimes when that happens, I think, is that just reflective of my experience and name in the market? But I don't think that is the case from talking to firms. I think that there's this big gap at the moment, and you highlighted this the other day on the back of some client meetings, where there's a skill shortage from about 5 years to 8 years PQE, and that's been driven by the pandemic and the fact that a few years ago, people who were 1, 2, 3 years PQE didn't have the same level of investment as their peers because of the fact that they were work from home, they didn't have the same level of collaboration, input. And I think there's so much to be said for, yes, work from home does work, but it also doesn't work in a lot of senses because a lot of training is done by virtue of just being in the presence of someone. So that's, I think, driving the partner market. I think that firms are always looking for partners. Of course they are when it comes to moving individuals with a big book of business. But I think the market is, there seems to be a lot of succession planning going on at the moment as well. So the partner market is very buoyant. If you are a good quality partner, someone that has got a good reputation, the market's very much in your favour at the moment. There's a lot of options, a lot of firms wanting to grow. I think that it's probably the best time to make a partner move than it has been in the last 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
So the market's busy, very, very busy, to answer your question.
Yeah, I don't think it's been busier in the last 18 months.
No, it's honestly, you can't, we've got so many great opportunities at the moment for partners. It's, if you're someone that wants to explore the market, the market's buoyant, it's good.
I think it does help being specialists in partner recruitment. Obviously, the conversations we're having are driven from the top. So when you're working with partners, you see we get a sense for the whole of the market generally, what's happening in their firms, what's happening in their departments, what they're seeing the market looking like. And I think what you're saying about the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 year PQE solicitors, working from home does work, but when you're missing out on how to become a good business developer, missing out on many sales skills by being around the partner in the office, missing out on networking events, there's a lot less of those things happening than they used to. So those rainmakers are really hard to come by, hence why firms are pushing so much at the senior level. Exactly, and they're paying a premium for that as well.
I think a lot of junior lawyers, without going off on a tangent here, my experience at the moment is everybody wants some version of work from home, whether it's 2, 3 days a week. But I think a lot of people are still yet to wake up to the fact that actually it costs them a lot in terms of opportunity, in terms of training, and business development is a massive part. It seems to be quite common nowadays to be finding candidates who are 7, 8 years PQE, but don't have anything in the way of a following, which is absolutely bonkers. And then these people are trying to find a route to partnership, and they're finding that actually it's very hard to get to partnership because they're missing a big part of
being a partner.
A big part being a partner is having fees.
Even just 5 years ago, you'd find someone 2 or 3 years PQE and they'd have their own client base, and now it's like gold dust.
Well, it's worth saying, if you are a partner with a credible client base, the market is yours at the moment because there's a shortage of people with that. A a lot of what we're doing at the moment is, because there is a shortage of these types of candidates, is really helping firms to understand, one, how to attract them, but not just how to attract them. Once you've actually got them, how to retain them. So it's about, I've had a lot of conversations with firms recently about how do they proposition themselves for partners? How do they put themselves out there? And a lot of, I've spoken to some firms in the West End of the city that say, well, we're always kind of on the lookout. Well, what does that mean? What are you doing? What's your proposition? How do we sell you to these types of candidates? And, if you've got someone that's in charge of recruitment, but is a practice manager or an office manager doing 80 million other jobs, then are you planning for the future? Are you getting the right person through the door? There's a lot of firms that I'm coming across at the moment where partners are, coming up to their late 50s, early 60s, and because there's this skill gap from the 5, 6, 7 year, 8 year, there's not the succession that there used to be. Firms are finding it harder to plan for the future, to plan for succession, because there's this kind of skill gap. So if you are a good lawyer who wants to get to partnership, you might be in a top heavy team, you might not have that route to partnership. There's options out there.
I think you hit the nail on the head as well, how you proposition your firm, your department. At the end of the day, if you're a credible partner and you have a book of business, most firms will entertain the idea. But if you're the firm that's on the lookout for that type of candidate, you need to have selling points. You need to have certain things that are going to attract those types of candidates. And work with recruiters is key, because if we aren't given those selling points and key details as to why we should be sending such candidates to the firm, then you're really going to struggle to find them.
Well, I think one thing a lot of the firms don't realise is, we have to get a candidate, not just get their permission, but even before you get their permission to send the details across, you're trying to get them bought into a vision in terms of a company. For the person to actually say, yes, I'm happy for my details to come across, there's a lot that goes into that. And if you are a firm that, just directs people to look at a website, which for all intensive purposes is normally a client tool, not a firm tool, then how on earth are we going to sell you? So, what we need to, the message we're trying to get out there a lot to firms is, tell us about the culture, tell us about who you are, tell us about the vision you've got, tell us about where you're going, what are people buying into? It's all of those kind of things that, we need to know, because, what we're advising candidates about is their future, and we need to show them what their future could look like. And it comes down to so much more than just money and work. There's so many other facets to it.
That's a good question. So there aren't any particular trends, actually. It's a conversation we've had a few times recently. It depends on the firm and the firm's needs. So there's many opportunities across commercial practice areas, but that's only been relevant in the last 3 or 4 months. Before that, there wasn't many opportunities at all. Disputes, always an area that is busy, but at the minute it's particularly busy. Different areas that haven't been as busy recently are picking up, such as employment, more insolvency roles, and residential property. Since the budget, since the drop in interest rates, there's been a surge of senior level residential property roles. And other than that, there's nothing else I'd look at and say there's any real trend. It's just firm dependent. And when you said as well succession planning, there's succession planning for roles that we haven't seen any succession planning in for the last 4 or 5 years. So when it's succession planning, there isn't a trend, because you don't know when, you can't tell when someone's necessarily going to retire. So you just need to, I guess, be in the right place at the right time, have the right firms who trust in you, and then you create opportunity for candidates as a recruiter.
I think the market as well, we've gone through quite a funny period of time, really. We've had a lot going on in the employment market in a short space of time. We've had pandemic, war in Russia, mini budget that, dropped, just sent the whole country into chaos. So there's been a lot of factors at play. And I think what's happened a lot over the years is I don't feel that firms have been on the ball as much when it's come to succession planning, because I think their attention, and rightly so, has been pulled in a million different directions. What that's done is I think it's suppressed the market. So what we're finding now, whenever there's, a lot of firms have been wanting to stand by when it comes to recruitment over, since kind of the back end of last year when the interest rates went crazy, when inflation was going up. A lot of firms were having to look at enhancing people's packages in order to keep up with the cost of living. Obviously, feeding into that, we've had energy prices going through the roof. And all of those things have really factored into, have firms been looking to necessarily grow? I think there's been a need, but I think what they've been trying to do is push capacity more within departments. And I think people are working very, very hard. And I think we've now got to a point where the people are sort of looking at growth more. They're looking at where the practices are going. And all of that is obviously always fueled by partners. Partners are at the top. And, if you've got a strong top, then, it all feeds down from there. But I think all of this is playing into the fact that we're very busy. Obviously, we're recording this video, I'm not sure wisely or unwisely, on the day before the budget. So by the time we put this out there, it could be a totally different state of play. But the day before the budget, it's busy. And it's busy with uncertainty. It's busy with people not knowing what's coming. So with interest rates coming down, with the budget coming out, that's going to provide clarity and hopefully, growth. We want our law firms and our clients to be growing. That's what we want as recruiters.
I think that's an important point as well. Over the last few years, the firms that have grown the most and had the most success were the ones that backed themselves in a difficult market and hired partners when others weren't necessarily hiring partners. Because like you said, it starts from the top, doesn't it? And the top feeds down. If you find the right partners in the right market, they're always going to get busier. They might be quiet for a few months, but at some point that is going to pick up. And then the firm will reap the rewards off the back of that. The partner will be happy. The partner will be in a great position. They'll be recruiting. The firm will be happy. That everybody can succeed together.
Partnership is obviously something that the majority of people would like to aspire to. The majority of people want to get to. And I found it interesting over the course of my career. I've seen some very junior candidates who are as young as 1-2 years PQE make it to partner. I've seen some people partnership shoot them by. Some people at 15 years still trying to get partnership. What do I think separates it? Well, I think the first thing is I think there's a lot to be said for the sort of individual which is pushing and really, got their career in their hands. Some people, you get these rainmaker types of individuals who will stop at nothing, who will be aware of clients early on in their career. They will manage their own progression, so they'll be pushing for training, further qualification. They'll be using their appraisals in a way where they're taking control of their career. They're making smart career moves that align with what their long-term goal is. Some people have an ability to look at their life with much more of a kind of idea of where they're going and how to get there. Some people tend to look just one foot in front of the other, and that doesn't always serve you well because there's no forward planning. Ultimately, if we strip it all back, what are the key factors that get someone up to partnership quickly? I think one of the big ones, as we've already alluded to, is clients. Where does your work come from? If you have got a client base and you have got clients and business coming in, you are a valuable commodity, and that is going to put you in a good position for partnership. But it isn't all about the clients. It's about the skills that you display internally. Are you someone that has got leadership qualities? You don't always need to be a leader to be a partner. There's lots of partners that just work on a silo basis and maybe just have an assistant. But it depends, what do you want to do with partnership? What does partnership actually mean to you? I think a lot of people are very fixated on becoming a partner, but they don't necessarily know why they want to become a partner. Is it because you want the title for business development reasons? Or is it because you want to really leverage up your earnings and you see partnership as a vehicle in order to do that? I think that's really important to understand. Why does someone want to become a partner? If it's all geared towards earnings, then there becomes a point in a fee earner's career where there's only so much they can earn because there's only so many hours in the day. And then they get to that point where, look, if you want to enhance your, obviously the old 3 times salary rule of thumb springs to mind. That's what candidates typically should be looking to earn. Obviously, it's not always 3 times salary. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 5. But 3 times salary is the rule of thumb. And there comes a point where there's only so many hours in the day. And if you want to catapult your earnings further, then you need to grow a team and feed a team.
I think it depends on who you are and the type of firm you're currently at. So if you're looking for partnership at your firm and you're being passed up, what's the reasons for that? Is it because you're not the right cultural fit, or you're, like you say, the business development isn't quite right? But there could be firms out there that are in need of someone who's a senior associate to become a partner, and culturally you could fit. You could have the perfect skill set. The opportunity for fixed share to full equity could be on the table. But I think a lot of the candidates, or a lot of the seniors I've spoken to in recent times looking for partnership, a lot of them feel, or I say a lot, there's a few I've spoken to who feel like they need to try and achieve partnership where they are, and they are fixated on staying put and getting partnership at their current firm, where it could be easier just to achieve it by making a move.
Making a strategic move.
Exactly, and that move could be the best move you ever make. And if it wasn't quite the best move, but you got that partnership and you stayed there for 2 or 3 years, then there's so many more options for you after that, really. So,
well, I think a lot of people who are striving for partnership are in a bit of a holding pattern a lot of the time, where they're being told that it's coming, but there's no real roadmap, there's no real check marks or lines drawn in the sand of what they should be striving to achieve. And I think the difference when we move someone into that track is a lot of the time we will actually sketch out with them, right, okay, this is where you want to get to. This is what you need to do in order to get there. This is what you need to show your new firm. So there's much more clarity and solidity in knowing what the route is. Because, you know, if I was a candidate striving for partnership and I was just in this holding pattern of, you know, it might come up, it's coming up, it's on our radar, but there's no real clarity in what I need to deliver, what I need to do in order to get there, then, you know, there comes a point where, you know, are you going to stay with that firm, or is it sensible to move elsewhere?
There's a number of points partners should be considering when looking to work with a recruiter. And that's for a partner recruiting and a partner looking for a new job as well. Experience is important. We've done the job for a long time. We've worked in various markets. I've worked in markets across the whole of London, whether that's City, West End, Greater London, all sorts, all different types of practice areas. So I've had exposure to all different areas of law, all different types of law firms, and I've got a good rounded view of the market. I know you have similar experience as well. That puts us in a position where we could give good insight. We understand many different pain points that partners or seniors looking to move to partnership from various firms are feeling, why they're feeling that, and then ultimately what they should be looking for. As a recruiter, you need to put that partner at the forefront. So the partner, I know we obviously have clients as recruiters, and we have the law firms and the businesses that we work with who are the clients, but the partner ultimately becomes the client.
They're the number one key piece of the puzzle, because it's the client base that the firm is investing in.
Mm-hmm. And as a recruiter, you need to show your ability and your market knowledge to that partner. So as a partner, you should be questioning a recruiter of, well, what have you done in this area, and how many moves have you made, and how many equity partners have you placed, or fixed share partners have you placed in your time, and what value have you added to firms in terms of growth, what firms are growing at the moment in key practice areas or the practice area you're working, how much exposure we've had there. We can give, obviously, maybe some examples of firms that we have helped in our time as well. These are all things as a partner or a senior you should be quizzing your recruiter on. There's been many instances over the years where a firm have come to me to replace a partner, or a partner has come to me because they've made the wrong move. And a lot of that does stem from the recruiter. If the recruiter doesn't advise, if the recruiter's too pushy, if the recruiter has an agenda, then that can really impact someone's career. And as a partner, it's important you're making the right moves. You don't want to make too many in your career as a partner, ideally. Once you've got to move 3 or 4, that's when you're thinking about, right, this is it for me. This is where I'm going for the rest of my career. If the first two you make are the wrong move, they could be the wrong move for various reasons, right? You could think they were the perfect firm that don't deliver on what you expect, and these things can happen. It can be luck of the draw sometimes with those types of moves. But as a recruiter, if we're not being able to advise you on the journey and the interview process, the firm, the departments, the firm's plans, the growth plans, the ambitions, where they see themselves going. If we can't give you that as a recruiter, then you shouldn't really be working with them.
That's
ultimately.
key. I think the growth plans. A recruiter should understand when you're speaking with a partner. A recruiter should be able to convey to you exactly why you might be a good fit for that role. And often that comes down to the growth plans of the firm and how we as a recruiter can see your practice area and your client base merging with said firm. And if they can't do that, then it's a pie in the sky idea. Whereas if you can deliver that, you can garner trust on both sides, and that often is what harmonises the deal and brings it all together.
Yeah, well, we're here to hold it all together, aren't we? And we're here to advise, to give clarity, to help the client or candidate understand why either side could be a good fit. There's many times where I've placed partners over the years where at first you may not think they were the right fit on paper for that firm, but you converse with the firm, you have an in-depth conversation, that firm gives you more information as to why they could be a good fit, and then it comes down to a conversation, and that conversation can then lead to a really good opportunity. And there's been quite a few over the years, and we've done some recently where partners have joined firms and they come back saying this was perfect. I never thought I would have joined this firm, and now I've joined them. I think they're amazing. And I've had partners in the past as well who have come to me 5, 6, 7 years ago who at first didn't think that firm was the right fit for them. And as a recruiter, we're here to obviously market the firm as well and explain why we think they or that firm is a good fit. And those candidates I placed back then who didn't think they were necessarily the right fit are still at those firms. So we're here to work for both client and candidate. And that's one thing that's important. As a client, you shouldn't just call a recruiter and say, I need a commercial property partner, send me CVs. This is not how this works.
We need to be able to have the information to be a brand advocate for you, to get people's buy-in early doors so that we can then, bring it all together in a timely fashion, to be honest, because momentum in partnership recruitment is absolutely key as well. Time will absolutely ruin the process as it goes on. So I think that's totally nail on the head. We do a lot for our clients in terms of getting the word out. I think actually a lot of the value that we can add is bringing options to a partner, as you just said, that they otherwise wouldn't have heard of or thought of. And I think that's a lot of the added value that we can bring as a.
Well, I think you're spot on there. Any recruiter, right, can go through a directory and list the name of firms. It's easy. Just Google it. What's the point of using a recruiter if you're going to do that? We're going out in the market every day. We're on the phone for 9 hours a day to all sorts of firms, all different firms, whether they're boutiques, startups, established firms that are coming into the market that are regional practice, all sorts of opportunities that as a senior or a partner in London, say, or in a different market, you don't know those opportunities are there. And that's our job as a recruiter, is to find that opportunity, to have that existing relationship, to present an opportunity or two or three to a candidate that they would never have heard of before. And it's exciting. When you're a candidate that hasn't heard of an opportunity or a firm, but you look into them and you realise, wow, these guys are really impressive. I didn't know they existed. That's exciting. You've got an opportunity to have a conversation and build a new connection with a firm that you've never heard of before. And look, sometimes it works really well. Sometimes you get on like a house on fire and then you're in a new position. So it really does depend on the situation. If it's a sensitive role that a client has given us, then we will handle it with sensitivity. It's as simple as that. We're very clear to the candidate that this is a sensitive hire. This cannot go out to the market. And look, we're working with solicitors. Solicitors understand when you say something is sensitive, they get it. It's very easy to have that conversation and explain that. And the process with that is to respect both candidate and client. Ultimately, the decision is on them. If the client has a certain role they're looking to hire for with certain boundaries and things that we can and can't discuss and things that they want to discuss with the candidate and not through us, then fine, we'll respect that. But we have to work around that. We have to work with the client to understand how we can market this role and what needs to be done for us to be able to get the right candidates attracted to the role. Because if they give us minimum input and we don't know anything about it, how do we can't just sell a role. We'll just be selling the name of a firm at that point and saying they have a corporate department and you look good for them. That's not how this works. So
you're not going to get the trust of the candidate that you know what you're talking about if you haven't got the information, and a firm needs to give that to us. And often, if it is sensitive, then you have to be very discreet. But we can do that, and there's been many an occasion where we've had to.
Definitely. And look, all sorts of situations arise on a daily basis, right? In the workplace, or someone underperforming, anything can happen. And as a trusted advisor, a trusted partner to firms, to candidates, we're here to make everybody's lives easier and to work with them to give them the best solution possible for the difficulties that they find themselves in. Ultimately.
Yeah.